National parks are often called America's best idea, but they are also complex and often misunderstood. The many kinds of distinct designations under the management of the National Park Service can confuse visitors. The term national park alone has three meanings. The first is a very broad term people use for all public lands in America. The second is an umbrella term for the 423 natural, historic, and cultural sites protected by the National Park Service. The third is a specific designation given to 63 of the most famous and popular landscapes in America. Names and designations of National Park Service sites are established in the congressional legislation or executive orders that authorize the sites. So what are these designations and what do they mean? Let me try to explain. The National Park designation is the one we all know and love. This designation applies to Yellowstone, Yosemite, the Grand Canyon, the Great Smoky Mountains, the Everglades, and so on. Because of these beloved landscapes, the National Park designation is often seen as the cream of the crop. It's widely agreed upon that a national park protects large, diverse areas with outstanding land features and ecological resources. The intent of national parks is to keep landscapes unimpaired for future generations while offering some recreation and tourist opportunities. Hunting, mining, and resource-consumptive activities are expressly forbidden. National monuments protect a wide variety of things and are a strange and wonderful designation. They can be created by Congress, but unlike all other designations, the President of the United States can also create them unilaterally. They can consist of natural areas or areas of cultural, historical, and archaeological significance. All of those factors have resulted in the establishment of 129 active national monuments. Another thing that makes the National Monument designation an outlier is they can exist within or without the National Park Service. National monuments are currently administered by 8 different federal agencies, including 5 cabinet departments. Of the 129 monuments, 115 are managed by a single agency, while 14 are co-managed by 2 agencies. The National Park Service manages 85 of the total national monuments, either entirely or in part. National monuments are typically smaller and less diverse than national parks, often preserving a single landscape or feature rather than an entire ecosystem. Because the president can create them, they often use that power to preserve areas that Congress might not, or places that will eventually be redesignated as something else. Many national parks, like the Grand Canyon, Badlands, and Zion, for example, were first protected as national monuments. National preserves are similar to national parks in their size and the types of environments they protect. However, preserves typically allow certain activities not permitted in national parks, such as hunting and oil and gas exploration. Many preserves border national parks, but were not incorporated within the parks themselves specifically because Congress wanted to allow the aforementioned resource extraction policies. National reserves protect landscapes and historic areas, but their day-to-day operations are collaborative. This designation means the land is protected through a partnership between federal, state, local, and private agencies and groups. Most national historic sites protect a single structure or setting, such as the homes of notable Americans, or public buildings where important events occurred. Several feature just a single building and are on less than an acre of land. There is also a single international historic site that America shares with Canada. National historical parks protect a historic setting, but usually extend beyond a single building or property. This designation protects a collection of historical structures that tell the story of a specific time or place. Some national historical parks in less developed areas may contain natural attractions in addition to their historical ones. The National Battlefield designation is actually a category of designations, including national battlefields, national battlefield parks, national battlefield sites, and national military parks. Of these 4 designations, national battlefield parks and national military parks tend to be the largest. Whenever the word park is thrown in, it tends to reflect a larger scale. By that logic, national battlefield sites and national battlefields generally protect the sites of smaller battles and skirmishes. However, there are no well-defined meanings for these different battlefield designations. But while Congress can't seem to agree on a single designation for our war-related history sites, at least they can agree they deserve to be protected. As the name suggests, national memorials tend to memorialize people, places, and moments that made a major impact on the story of America. National memorials can be physical monuments like statues, structures, and artworks, or a public space that symbolizes a historical event. National recreation areas are parks where recreation is the sole focus. They can permit activities such as hunting, boating, fishing, biking, or similar activities that can be less welcome in national parks. This designation typically, but not always, centers around large reservoirs and emphasizes water-based recreation. Many are located in rural areas, but 5 are located near major population centers. These 5 urban parks combine open spaces with the preservation of significant historical resources and important natural areas in a location that can provide outdoor recreation for a large number of people. National seashores and national lakeshores preserve stretches of America's coastlines worthy of being preserved in a natural state. The only difference between the seashore and lakeshore designations is their location. National lakeshores can be located on any natural freshwater lake, but the 3 existing national lakeshores are all on the Great Lakes. The 10 national seashores are on America's 3 coasts, Atlantic, Gulf, and Pacific. Both of these coastal designations tend to allow hunting, which is why many of these sites are not designated as outright national parks. There are several variations on this category: National River, National Scenic River, Wild River, Recreational River, etc. Each of these designations protects outstanding natural, cultural, and recreational waterways in a free-flowing condition. They usually have the size and focus of national monuments, are located in rural areas, and have some of the outdoor recreation opportunities of national recreation areas. Their specific management rules vary based on the legislation that established them. National parkways are a strange designation. Each parkway is intended to highlight a scenic corridor that is often connected to cultural sites. Parkways can range in length from a few miles to a few hundred miles. National trails break down into 3 categories: scenic, historic, and recreational trails. These designations are given to culturally significant and non-motorized routes that extend for 100 miles or more. These routes traverse beautiful terrain, connect communities, showcase significant landmarks, and pass through various types of public and private lands. Of the 172 national cemeteries across America, of which Arlington in Virginia is the most famous, there are 14 that fall under the National Park Service, all of which are administered in conjunction with an associated park unit and are not considered unique park sites. National heritage areas are designated by Congress as regions, where natural, cultural, and historic resources combine to form a cohesive, nationally important area or landscape. These region-scale areas are lived-in landscapes and are co-managed collaboratively with local communities. The National Park Service does not typically get involved with day-to-day operations or own any lands, but instead the agency supports local towns, museums, and parks that connect the stories of the national heritage areas and celebrate our nation's diverse history. The affiliated areas comprise a variety of locations connected to the National Park Service mission, but are not owned or operated by the National Park Service itself. Some of these have been recognized by acts of Congress. Others have been designated National Historic Sites by the Secretary of the Interior under the authority of the Historic Sites Act of 1935. All draw on technical and financial aid from the National Park Service. The National Park Service administers a number of areas in the Washington, D.C. region that don't easily fit into the previously mentioned classifications. The National Park Service classifies these units as having other designations and they bear a variety of names. Hopefully, this overview of the National Park Service designations provides some clarity on the many land designations that fall under the National Park Service. Outside of the Park Service are even more confusing agencies and land managers like the Forest Service, Bureau of Land Management, and U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. So let me know if you'd like a follow-up video that explains how the other land management agencies protect your public lands. Thank you for watching, and enjoy exploring what America has to offer.